Thursday noon. So this is Coffee with Ralph. I'm Ralph Gale. I'm your host. I've been in this financial field insurance agency business for, well, most of my life, it seems. And it seems like each year I get to this point in time where it's now Medicare season. That's the term that they use. And frankly, I find that a little annoying. And now that I'm 65, and have gone through this whole process myself, I find this time of year rather disturbing. I've probably gotten 50 calls, wanting to talk to me about my Medicare benefits and the amazing changes that are coming about. So listen, coffeewithralph.com is a free 15-minute call with me. I'm going to answer your questions. Only thing I can say is I'm really tired of people trying to make this more complicated than it really is, making you and I, we're now 65, feel like we're absolute idiots. Can't comprehend anything, haven't made it this far in life, just by accident we've gotten this far. So I'm really tired of that. So this whole series the last 3-4 weeks has been about Medicare and what it is and what it does. And so I'm going to start with a recap. I need to share my screen here and then start the slideshow because I have a few slides I want to use. So bear with me here on the current screen. I think that's where I want to be. There we go. All right. So let's just start right there. Man, it's like alphabet soup here. I don't know if you guys remember chicken noodle alphabet soup, but this is kind of the same thing. And here we are, Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. Then you have all the Medicare supplement plans down there. A, B, C, D, F, H, K, L, M. Wow. And the one that's missing in there is G. We're going to talk about that today. But what is it? Part A is hospital. What does that mean? Well, it's room and board, guys. I keep it simple. Any drug that they give you in the hospital is covered under that. Any therapy they give you in the hospital is covered under that. If it's not a Part A cost, in other words, just not done in the hospital, or isn't part of the hospital, like doctors. Doctors are not part of the hospital. Surgical suites are not part of the hospital. They're Part B under doctors and medical. It covers all the testing done outside the hospital. I go to the doctor, like every 6 months now. Now that I'm 65, they got to keep me healthy, right? For blood work. And that work is done at the doctor's office, not at the hospital. So that's all covered under Part B. Now, Part C really isn't part of Medicare, but it was made part of Medicare. They call it the Medicare Advantage. I wanted you to refer to it or think about it as privatized Medicare. And then there's Part D. And we all know now that stands for drugs. And we also know that, well, now they think the federal government should be able to, Medicare specifically, able to negotiate drug price. Like they haven't been up to now, but now they've been given this demand to bring down some of the costs of some of the drugs for Part D recipients on Medicare. Sounds like the government's just kind of messing with us, doesn't it? All right. So remember what I told you. I'm gonna run Medicare Advantage program down here on this screen just so you can see how it falls out. Hey, if you want, take a screenshot of this. Part A, which is a hospital. Like I said, days 1 through 60 has a $1,600 deductible this year. That's per occurrence. So remember, as I said, if we have a heart attack, that's an occurrence. And in that same 60-day period, I fall and break my hip, there's another occurrence. So I could have a couple, 300 or 400 of these really in a year. But under Part C, the Medicare Advantage program, typically speaking, they have a daily copay, somewhere $325, $350, $400, depending on the plan. And usually that's for the first 5 days of admittance. Well, if we do our math real quick, guys, we'll see that if we stayed in the hospital 5 days, we'd match that $1,600 deductible, which the hospital charges for day 1 through 60. The catch here is pretty simple. The Advantage Part C plan, Medicare Advantage, that is a per admittance. So let's use my example of that heart attack again. I have a heart attack and I go in the hospital and I stay there for 3 days. And so I pay, $975. And I go home. A week later, I have another heart attack and I go back to the hospital under the Medicare Advantage Part C plan. I'm going to pay for another admittance at $325 a day. So I think you can see real quick where that could add up. Now, Medicare rehab in a facility, it used to be, and they've just changed that. I mean, I think medicine's made some great strides forward. But you have a hip replacement. They used to send you to a nursing home for rehabilitation. And for the first 20 days, Medicare pays it all. So Medicare Advantage Part C, they pay it all too for the first 20 days. Some are the 10. I mean, we have to look at the specific plan. Medicare Part A, they kind of mix this up. Actually, rehab as an outpatient is covered under Medicare Part B, but they jam it in there under the Part C. So we understand that each time we go for a rehab visit. Nowadays they take and I just talked to a client, that was crazy. She had a hip done. She was in the hospital for 2 days, which, by the way, would not have qualified her to go to a facility. You have to be in the hospital for 3 days, and then you go to a skilled nursing facility. If not, they won't pay it. And if Medicare won't pay it, the Medicare Advantage Part C will not pay it either. Now, however, she got this hip done. Day 2, they've got her up walking. They send her home and say, hey, you need to come back for physical therapy. We want you every day for the next 2 weeks. That's $40 a visit times 14. You can see where it adds up pretty doggone quick here. So there's plans to help offset that cost. Then we move into the doctors. Remember, Medicare Part B just puts doctors in a category. Doesn't say your primary or specialist, it's just doctors. And they have a $266 per year deductible. Now it's 2023, okay? 2024 is going to change a bit. But that's all Part B doctor and medical and testing. Anything that's not Part A falls under Part B. Unless it's a drug, then it's D, but that's different. So I go in like that blood test, that's now covered under Part B. Under a Medicare Advantage Part C, I can have copays, $10 or $20 for each test that they run. Medicare Part B, however, once you've paid the deductible, the rest is covered at 80/20. So if the test is $100, you're going to pay $20. So they reduce it a little bit. They monitor it. They keep it down, the cost down. The big catch is chemo. Chemotherapy is covered under Part B when it's given in one of the facilities and infusion facilities around. And that's covered at 80% by Medicare. You pay the 20%. And some of those can be $1,500 to $2,000 a treatment. So that's Medicare Advantage. Remember, I just tell you, I want you to think privatize Medicare. I'm gonna summarize this a little differently than the last screen, but just bear with me while I get through this next one. All right. Here again, you can see on the left side of your screen where I've got the hospital deductible. I've got all that stuff spelled out just the way it is. And then on the right side, we've got the Medigap plan, the Medicare supplement, Medigap. They've got different names. Same thing. And I'm going to use the Plan G. Why? It's the most cost-effective with the broadest coverage. Where Medigap is is it is actually insurance. So let's cover it as insurance. Part A is hospital. Remember, you have this deductible, and that's per occurrence. Under a Medigap plan, Plan G. Well, that's interesting. Medigap Plan G jumped screens on me. Well, I'm not sure what happened. I'm going to stop the share. We're going to start all over. Okay. Well, technology, don't we love it? Okay. Well, we're up the screen. There we go. Let's just click back and we'll start from the current slide. There we go. No, that's not the right one either. Okay, here we go. I'm going to leave this up. I'm not going to keep messing around with it. Jump back one screen. Anyways, wow, that's okay. We're having fun here. The Medigap Plan G, remember I told you the hospital deductibles paid. I don't care how many occurrences you have, they're going to pay it. The rehab in a facility, remember, it's 1 through 20, Medicare pays it all. Days 20 through 100, your Medigap Plan G covers all that as well. And as far as the rehab for outpatient, all that's paid as well. Where remember it was like $40 before. Then you get into the Medicare Part B, the doctor and the medical, right? All doctors, they don't specify primary or secondary or specialist or whatever. All doctors are a $0 copay after the $266. Remember, that's this year's deductible, annual deductible. And by the way, that's about one visit to my doctor. And then all medical testing, like that blood test that I'm going to be taking, that's all covered at 100% too. And chemo, that 20% of chemo that Medicare Part B doesn't cover, Medigap Plan G does. So listen, what's the difference? Well, remember, I want you to think about Medicare Advantage as a privatized Medicare. So they expect you to pick up what Medicare doesn't pay. They do spread it out differently. They make the copays different as such. It's care management and illness prevention, because what they figured out, and it's true, is if you keep me healthy, I'm not going to go to the doctor as much. I mean, you think about a kid, they get a snuffle, they just wipe it on their sleeve and keep on going. However, they found that after we get 65, we get that snuffle, boy, we run right to the doctor. We got to figure out what's going on there. But they figure out if they can keep us healthy, it keeps the cost down, it keeps doctor visits down, it keeps hospitalizations down, and it keeps us more active. So keeping us healthy, that's what it's about. Medigap, the Medicare supplement, Medigap Plan G, that's insurance. Guys, it doesn't have anything to do about care management. It doesn't care if you're healthy. It's simply there to pay what Medicare doesn't pay. I can see my screen wasn't shared. Oh, yes, I did. Okay, never mind. It's there. I think we're having an issue. But let me get this back up here. I'm going to share that right now, just so you have it. There we go. Now we're sharing, I'm sure. Right? Wow. All right. Such a difference. What's the difference? There we go. That's the screen. If you want to take a screenshot of that, go right ahead. Technically, that's not, I'm not doing it the way Medicare wants me to do it, or the different companies want me to do it, but I am doing it the way that you and I, as 65-year-olds, are going to look at this. So listen, I mentioned coffeewithralph.com is a free 15-minute phone call. I encourage it. The only thing I want is for my clients and my viewers out there to get a good grip on exactly what these things are. We can make the wrong decision for the right reasons, and we can make the right decision for the wrong reasons. But if you understand what Medicare is, I didn't go into all the nuances. I'm never going to go into all the nuances. It's ridiculous. There's so many of them. Like I was telling you once, I think there's over 10,000 codes now for Medicare. There's no way anybody can understand all those, not even the doctors. So here we go. If we can understand the overview, if we can look at it from the 30,000 foot view, then we can hone it down. Are you diabetic? That might change the picture a little bit. Are you COPD? Are you heart? What do you have? That might change your decisions going forward. Now, Medicare Advantage programs are meant so that I never ask you any questions about that. Isn't that neat? And that's okay. But you need to understand what the two do and how they do them differently, so that you make the decision you want it. It's the best decision for you, not me, not the insurance company, you. So listen, this has been Coffee with Ralph. I could go on for hours with this stuff, and probably should. But this call, this live presentation is a 15-minute. As is that call, coffeewithralph.com. Honest to God, it's totally free. I'm not going to try to pressure you into buying anything. I'm not this commercial that says, call now to speak to a licensed agent. I am a licensed agent, and I do have the right to speak to you on these matters. So for this week, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to wish you all a blessed week, and I'll see you next